It's road construction time. Hey everyone, welcome back to another update for BNSF Chicago Sub and N-Scale. I'm Peter Borchards and I'm the owner and operator of this layout. Now in this update I'm going to show you using the Woodland Scenics road system. This is what I've used to create the roads on my underpass area. And I'll show you what I've used, and also I'll show you the process of what I've done creating the roads. I just got a quick little video afterwards showing you how to pour the plaster and then leveling it all out and cleaning it and sanding it and cleaning it afterwards. So you get an idea of how that system works and how I've done the roads in my scenic area. So let's see how I did the roads. So to create the roads, I've used the Woodland Scenics road system. And this consists of plaster, this what they call smooth it. It's basically very fine plaster, and you just mix it with water to a sort of creamy consistency, and you pour it over the area where you want the roads to be, smooth it over and let it dry. You can then paint it afterwards. You can sand it and paint it. It also comes with option to add color to it as well before you lay it on the roads, so just in case you get any scratches in it or anything, you don't see the white plaster underneath. That's normally a good way to do it, is to pre-color it, and Woodland Scenics do the pigments that allow you to do that as well. So apart from that smooth it, you've also got this paving tape, and this is what you put to create the outline of your roads. It's a fairly thick tape, you can see there the thickness of it. This is the I think it's the same version for N-Scale, I think, and HO, I think it's the same thickness. But you basically just stick this around the areas where you want the road to be, and then when you pour in the plaster, you use this as you use the leveler on each side of the road. So the leveler goes on top of the paste, on top of the tape, and that will then level your road to the height of this tape. So it gives you a nice level surface when you scrape it and level the plaster out. And then it's easily removable as well. It's just double-sided tape really. You can then peel it off afterwards. But I'll show you that process in the video now. I'll show you pouring the plaster and then leveling it out at the end, and then removing the tape. And you can see what it looks like once that process is all completed. So in the meantime, here's the process I followed. So I start by taking the sidewalk tape, and I just cut small pieces exactly where I need it. So I put it down on the marks I've made on the layout where I want the roads to go, and I cut small pieces to fit exactly into those areas. I cut all the pieces first just to make sure they go exactly where I want them, and once I've done that, then I start sticking them down. I remove the backing paper and carefully align them with the markings to make sure I've got them straight, and I fit them exactly where I want them. This process takes quite a while, but you want to make sure you do it well, because this will affect how the roads look when you're finished. It's better to get it right now than have to redo it all afterwards. Even this small section took about 12 minutes. Now I move on to the next section, starting the main road. Now onto the final section next to the abandoned underpass. Now finally all the taping's done, it's time to start pouring the plaster. Now here comes the messy bit, pouring the plaster. I'm not a huge fan of using plaster, but I thought for this area it would be a lot easier as I wanted to recreate the bumpy and potholed streets of this part of Chicago. And it's a lot easier using plaster to recreate this. So I mix the plaster according to the instructions, which is about 2 cups of plaster to 1 cup of water. This is sort of a light cream consistency. It gives you about a 15-minute working time. I clean up the plaster drips as I go, as it's easier to clean it when it's still wet. I just use a wet paper towel just to wipe it clean. So now I'm just using the scraper that's supplied with the kit just to level it all out and just try to get it as smooth as possible. There's only so much you can do in the areas where there's no tape, so I just try to do it carefully and try to get it as level as I can do. So this is what it looks like after it's dried. Now this is before I've sanded it or filled any of the holes with some plaster just to smooth it out. Now after the plaster is dried, it's time to remove the tape. I just gently peel away the plaster, and I use a vacuum while I do this, as it prevents lots of dry plaster falling all over the layout underneath. The edges look a bit messy at the moment, but I'll clean that up later with some sandpaper. Now this is the bit that's important. I use some fine sanding paper just to sand down all the imperfections, trying to make it as smooth as possible. It's a messy step, but it's essential to get the road looking as good as possible. Now I'm getting rid of the last bits of tape from the edges of the road, and I'm just using an X-Acto blade just to scrape away the tape. At the same time, I'm also cleaning up the edges of the pavements, just to get rid of the little bits of plaster that are sticking out. Out comes the vacuum again, just to get rid of those little pieces of plaster that I've taken off, and also the remaining bits of the fine powder from the sanding process. Now I start rounding the edges of the pavements. I'm just using a very fine file just to lightly sand away the 90-degree angle to make it a nice smooth curve. This is a very quick process, but the results look really good once they're finished. So I have a nice rounded edges to my pavements instead of the 90-degree angle. Now I start filing down the drop curbs to make it wheelchair compliant, or rather ADA compliant, and I'm just filing a gentle slope down to the road just to simulate having a drop curb there. So that was just a quick overview showing you how I created the roads for this scenic area over here and for the underpass area. As I said before, my next video will be showing you how I do the painting and weathering of those roads, just to make it look a bit more realistic, and it's amazing how effective it can be just with a bit of paint and weathering powder. So progress is coming along really nicely with this area. I'm now got to the stage where I'm ready to do the graffiti, and I'll be showing you how I do that with Photoshop, how I compile the photos together. And that will be coming up in a video very shortly. They'll be following on after the road system videos. So in the meantime, be sure to click that subscribe button and click that little bell icon to be notified of my upcoming episodes. So thank you for watching, and see you soon.